I'm gonna be honest, that was absolute cinema. Death Battle uploaded the fourth and final episode of Death Battle 2024, and I haven't watched Death Battle in over a decade, so I was shocked to see this matchup on the YouTube trending tab. I'll be going over the video and sharing my thoughts about it as well. Spoilers for the entire Death Battle, by the way. For those who don't know, the Death Battle YouTube channel, formerly known as Screw Attack, is hosted by Wiz and Boomstick. The premise of Death Battle is simple. Put two fictional characters in a fight to find out who'll win. They'll first analyze their background, weapons, strengths, and weaknesses. I'll preface this by saying that I've only played one game of Among Us, and that was back on October 12th of 2020. Most of my knowledge of the game either comes from memes or this video. I didn't know that the Among Us crewmates could actually shapeshift, and they could shield players while in ghost form. The craziest thing is that their Desert Eagle can fire a laser capable of destroying planets, and they did the math, and you would need 10 nonillion tons of TNT just to destroy one planet. That is 31 zeros, by the way. You would have to do 1 billion times 1 billion a bunch of times to get that, I think. That's just, I didn't even know nonillion was a number. But I will say the pencil is just overpowered. Being able to draw whatever you want and it comes to life is crazy. This reminds me of the game called Scribblenauts. I'm not sure if you guys played it, but basically you can actually just type things out and your character will actually draw it with their pencil, if I recall correctly. I just got reminded of Scribblenauts there. I don't know how to feel about the fact that a chicken nugget that's shaped like a crewmate sold for $99,997. In terms of memes, Among Us has Fall Guys beat 100-fold. It literally popularized the word sus, which is short form for suspicious. Moving on to Fall Guys, and I'm someone who has almost 3,000 hours in the game, and even I learned some things. Well, the things I wish I never learned, but they're new nonetheless. Like how Fall Guys has their own manga. I don't know if it's an actual official manga or it's fan made, but either way, that's pretty cool. I also love how they mentioned creative mode and explained what it was. There are people out there who probably don't even know that Fall Guys has a creative mode, so I'm glad they explained it. They also explained one of the power-ups, that being the beanball, which does get used during the death battle. The crossover equipment is a huge reason why this matchup is even possible, especially with the way they choose to showcase it. One of the key aspects that a Fall Guy has over most fictional beings is that godlike durability. Being able to survive a meteor strike is bonkers. They did the calculations and a high-end strike is 15 kilotons of TNT. But now, this was something I didn't even know about. Apparently Fortnite had a Big Bang event and the Fall Guy just survived. That is universal level of durability. Although the following does pale into comparison, but with the 10.9 AK Fall Forever update, if a Fall Guy is in the air, they can land on their feet and move like nothing happened. Like they could be falling for a good 15 seconds and they still can land on their feet and just walk it off. The Fall Guy even gets up faster after being hit by an obstacle now. My favorite thing they put in the feats section is, quote, won 5 crowns in a row, end quote. And that got a chuckle out of me. I mean, they're not wrong. Winning 5 crowns in a row is pretty difficult. Learning that the Fall Guy experiences a zen-like state when they fall into the slime is pretty cool and not something that I knew about. So they're just literally just chilling in the slime and they don't actually die. And the fact that they actually confirmed that you're actually playing as the same Fall Guy and not a clone, the Fall Guy is obviously able to respawn if they fall off the map. But now, I need to know where they found the quote and where it said that a Fall Guy could tear a human being in half. That is something that I wish I didn't know, and it just scares the crap out of me just even thinking about it. Speaking of things I didn't know about, on January 18th, 2022, Fall Guys took to his Twitter page to make the following post. For every 250 likes, we'll make Long Guy longer. And eventually it got to the point where Long Guy actually stretched outside of the observable universe. Listen, I know this is a death battle, and this battle in particular is just a battle of two meme characters, so you definitely shouldn't take this super seriously, but the fact they included this as sort of a feat that a Fall Guy can do is pretty, I'm going to be honest, it's a bit of a stretch, pun intended. And it's not like the whole anatomy thing where Minotaur did say it is canon to the Fall Guy's lore. This is just a dumb tweet they made. I mean, the Fall Guy did stretch his hand to try to grab the crown, but that's the only time we've seen them actually use a whole stretching aspect. While we do have a Long Guy skin and obviously it has variations, it is not going to stretch outside of the observable universe while you're playing a game of Fall Guys. However, this is sort of a different story for Among Us. While the crewmate cannot stretch outside of the actual universe itself, on April 1st, 2024, as a part of the April Fool's update, Innersloth, the developers of Among Us, actually released an update in where the crewmates can actually stretch in-game. You can actually see in-game footage of this happening. But at one point, crewmates could stretch unbelievable distances if they wanted to. So I will give Death Battle this: the crewmates could be from the April 1st update, which would make sense. I like how I just went on a tangent for something that's basically a nothing burger. Like, we literally have a planet destroying gun, and this is where I choose to draw the line. I'm a very, very strange person if you haven't noticed, and I do not apologize for that. They showcased some power-ups such as being able to turn into Pac-Man, which will be important later. They also showcased He-Man's sword, the Hadouken from Street Fighter, and the TARDIS from Doctor Who, which I'm glad they included, as Midtonic, aka the makers of Fall Guys, are a UK company, and Doctor Who is also from the United Kingdom, so a nice little inclusion. Although I would have included Star Trek, as there is a celebration where the Fall Guys being teleported away. Or maybe Cuphead's pea shooter, as the emote does show them doing the pose, and there are sound effects you can hear, but that's probably a stretch. Now let's talk about the fight itself. I haven't watched Death Battle in years, so I have no idea if the formula has changed, but I was expecting the battle to just start the second it began. But no, we first visit the Among Us ship, and I love the detail of the yellow fall guy hugging the blue crewmate, and it just shows how friendly they can be towards each other. Cyan is the first imposter, cause remember, a game of Among Us can have two imposters. Yellow guy finds Brown's body and starts the meeting where everyone is ejected, and again, yellow fall guy and blue are just being bros and playing rock, paper, scissors. We then get into the Fall Guys portion of the video, and a detail that I can relate to is how Orange grabbed onto Pink the second the match began. God, it just pisses me off when people grab you right at the start of the race. Like, you just gain no advantage by that. It then shows a slideshow of them playing various games like Hexagon, and I will say, I wish it was more clear who got eliminated. They should have shown them falling into the slime, but the one who died was green because they don't appear after that. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but I feel like the Hextile colors are from the 2020 era or from Legacy Season 1. Number 2 is definitely Slime Climb. I can tell by the ramp in the top right, and the fan blades are the ones from Whirligig. I'm really surprised but glad they decided to include gore in this one, as you would think they would refrain from doing so since the audience for the games are typically children. Number 3 is Good Old Jump Club. It sucks to see Yellow die, but I'm glad it was Cyan that killed them and not Blue, because the betrayal would have stung. The next one is definitely giving me Slime Climb vibes, mainly the part with the curve that Cyan is on, and pretty cool to see Purple having a red Minecraft potion. I think it's a health potion of sorts, but I could be wrong on that. Including Perfect Match is a choice, and it's definitely one that I guess showcases their brains or their logic. I do wish they showed the fruits flickering on the tiles and the countdown on the screen, but it's fine. It's pretty cool to see the section be animated, but I wish they would have included something like Stomping Grounds or just something else that's a lot more gory, if that makes any sense. But nah, Cyan twerking was absolutely hilarious and something that I just saw right away. I just couldn't help but laugh at that. The finale is Fall Mountain, and the colors and just everything used is just giving me like beta Fall Mountain vibes. I don't know if this is what the beta of Fall Mountain looked like. The most unrealistic part is how only one cannonball was shown, but it killing Orange is realistic since if you get hit by one near endgame, it's basically over. Blue meeting his end with the Caribou Puncher is funny and not something I quite expected. I believe it is the only Fall Guys creative object we see used, which is sad, but I'll talk about that later in the video. It's pretty neat seeing the crown being animated differently than the rest of the scene. Listen, I know it's a death battle and you're not supposed to think about it too hard, but Pink going into the bean ball and rolling up is just unrealistic. The ball only works if you're going downhill, but I digress. Pink clutched up at the end and all seems right with the world, but Purple Guy is revealed to be the red crewmate, who as you know is the imposter since they use his shapeshifting ability to become Purple Guy. This caught me off guard the first time I watched, but looking back, the clues were there. Purple Guy didn't panic when the reactor was going off. During the ejection scene, Purple can be seen shushing as a way to tell the audience not to tell the others that they're the imposter. But finally, after 14 minutes, we get into the death battle part of the video, and the Fall Guy's durability is shown since Red's knife fails to pierce through Pink's skin. It's also great and just comedic gold to see how Red tested the knife on himself to see if it was a knife's fault, and they just started screaming in pain and reveal his true form. This shot with Red and his gun is just so raw, oh my god, and Pink tanked that bullet like an absolute champ and proceeded to go ham, but Pink slapping him like that is crazy. I'm always reminded of that one Dragon Ball scene when Goku is a Namek just absolutely slapping the crap out of Frieza. The banana bomb just came out of nowhere, but with it, we can start progressing onto the second part of the battle, and we can see the stretchy aspect of the Fall Guy come into play. But Red having that teleportation device is just busted. They could have grabbed the crown, but they wanted to kill Pink, which just shows how bloodthirsty the imposters can be. And the entire gang is here for the best part of the battle, that being the space portion. There's a lot I can talk about in this section alone, but I may save it for a different video, so let me know if you guys want a sort of an in-depth analysis on this entire death battle. Now, the Fall Guy team got a huge advantage by being able to just become Pac-Man, because Pac-Man can eat ghosts. But wait, I just want to make sure it's not just my imagination, but did the yellow guy throw a Hadouken towards the green Fall Guy? It's sort of in line with how the Fall Guy tunnel visions to the crown, and it shows that this is based on solos and not squads, because it wouldn't have mattered who grabbed the crown since they all win if one of them grabs a crown. The TARDIS came in absolute clutch because Red's planet destroying gun is tearing everything and everyone apart. Even the Pac-Man form isn't safe, and this has to be one of the best sequences just in the entire video. It is absolutely stunning. But Pink comes out of the TARDIS with the He-Man sword and gets rid of the gun, but Red uses the pencil and makes his own sword. If I was Red, I would have made like another gun or a bazooka or something else, but the sword is way cooler. And again, since the imposters are usually bloodthirsty, it's sort of in character for them just to make a sword just go in for the kill. And the fight sequence with the sword is arguably the best part of the video and is absolutely nutty and is well animated. Later, the crown is near Pink and they decide to just go for it and just try to grab it, which is another example of how tunnel vision the Fall Guy can get when it comes to the crown. We then get a montage of Pink imagining Red as the winner, and it's just the funniest part of the video, especially the one in where Pink is carrying Red. Also the one in where Red is depicted as old and the crown is wearing a fancy getup, and just poor Pink is just looking out into the window. Also, the Bert cameo in the scene where Pink is homeless is just chef's kisses. It's awesome. Either way, Pink locks in, grabs the crown, and proceeds to kill Red. It then cuts to the goriest scene by far, and Pink looks in absolute horror but realizes he's a chill guy and proceeds to Fortnite dance at the end, which concludes the death battle. Everyone is in ghost form, and you can see Yellow Guy and Blue are just being bros, and Cyan is trying their best to comfort Red. I have some thoughts and some grievances. I won't talk about the Among Us section of the battle and their gadgets since I know close to nothing about the game, but the Fall Guys one is the majority of the battle, and if we're going by the normal Fall Guys formula, which is round 1, 2, 3 and all the way to the finale, then overall I'm disappointed by the picks. All of it is either based on or is from Legacy Season 1, Hexagon, Jump Club and Perfect Match, but I wish we had the other seasons represented. In total we got 6 rounds, well 7 if you include the one before Hexagon. They could have easily had Stomping Grounds, Blastlantis, Kraken Slam and so much more. It would have been nice to see the other aspects of the game get featured, but maybe they didn't have the time nor budget to include some more animated sequences. While we did get an item from the creative era of Fall Guys, that would been the Caribou Puncher, it would have been so cool to see Digi appear during the space section. Maybe she appears and summons some platforms and rhinos to help him try to stop Red. Or maybe give Pink some party crashes to use, although Digi's inclusion might have complicated things and took away from the action, but some kind of reference to the creative era, like a little bit more reference to the creative era would have been nice. And this is sort of my theory, but the reason why they decided to stick with the Legacy Season 1 era of Fall Guys is because majority of the people who are watching this video are probably super casuals or probably people who just forgot about Fall Guys and only have fond memories of Legacy Season 1 or the 2020 days. So I suppose they didn't want it to veer far from that, otherwise they could risk sort of confusing the audience. But at the same time, they were showing like trailer footage of the other seasons, so I just don't see why they couldn't have just included at least like Stomping Grounds, because that could have definitely helped with the gore aspect. Because just imagine like a Fall Guy or sort of like tanking the hit from a rhino and falling off, and just like one of the Among Us crewmates getting absolutely decimated by the rhino, like just guts and bloods and everything split. This would have been awesome. Another thing that I'm kind of pressed about is the lack of blast balls. Maybe using a ton of the Fall Guys arsenal might have not been realistic due to time constraints, and with the way the battle was laid out, the Fall Guys was more on the defensive and only attacked when needed. I would have replaced the He-Man sword with the rubber chicken. It would have been hilarious and also on brand, but the sword fight was epic, so I'm not too sad about it. They really leaned into the crossover aspect of Fall Guys, which I can see why they did that, because they look cool and people are also familiar with Pac-Man, Street Fighter and Doctor Who. The various animation and art styles used was phenomenal, but the space fight scene was just stunning and just well choreographed. I do wish the actual fight could have been longer because it went on for like 2 minutes. I will cut them some slack since this battle is just mostly a meme, plus Death Battle did recently go independent, so maybe they didn't have the time and resources that they once did. Either way, this was just such a fun watch and really glad to hear that Team Fall Guys won, because those guys are just insanely durable, and when they lock in, they lock all the way in. At the end, they showed a tweet from the Among Us Twitter page saying that the crewmates literally die for a living, so they couldn't win. I'll make sure to link the Death Battle in the pinned comment, and also near the end screen, definitely give it a watch if you haven't already for some reason. And thank you to our Max Tour members for your support as always.